worried that without a crystal ball won't stop until Christine Brown is in jail. Welcome down this sad and never-ending rabbit hole, my friends. I'll try to leave us with a palate cleanser at the end. Originally, I spent a lot of time recording a video in which I praised Without a Crystal Ball for her recent interview of Emily Lee, a woman raised in the AUB. I was excited to see Katie Joy platforming a primary source, and I felt that Emily had so many interesting and important points to add to the discussion about the AUB. But I needed to go ahead and scratch that video once I realized what Katie Joy was up to on her Facebook page and how she was choosing to use some of this new information she's gained about the AUB against Christine Brown. So, unfortunately, here we have to go down this rabbit hole, my friends. Katie's initial post is entitled, "Polygamists Bury Dead Fetuses and Stillbirths in Their Yards." On the Sister Wives show, Christine and Janelle opened up about the devastating stillbirth Christine experienced directly before having Truly. Both Christine and Janelle admit to being heartbroken, obviously, about this entire situation. So Gwen Brown went ahead and addressed this event on her Patreon page, stating that following this stillbirth, Cody and the wives buried the baby in the backyard because it was a home birth. So this is what Katie Joy posted on her Facebook page after watching Gwen's video. Let's talk about the horrific healthcare women in these cults experience, along with the horrible way the cults handle the dead babies. Many women from the Apostolic United Brethren have shared that due to the cult instilling fear about doctors, women have babies at home. Due to inbreeding and women getting pregnant so frequently, many women miscarry or have stillbirths. Instead of reporting the birth to the medical examiner, which is required under Utah law, many women in these cults bury the fetus or dead infant in shallow graves in their backyards. We've also heard stories about infants and toddlers dying, members not reporting the deaths, and the body being buried in their yards. The members rarely deliver in hospital, and many children don't have birth certificates. The kids are invisible to the government and easy to dispose of if they die by accident, illness, or through neglect and abuse. Accidents and neglect lead to deaths of children all the time in these groups. Because the wives will just have another child, the groups move on quickly. Gwen Brown revealed this week on Patreon that Christine had a miscarriage that was a little bit later into the pregnancy. It doesn't matter if Christine left. She still perpetuated lies that harmed real people. Cody, Mary, Robin, and Janelle have not denounced their faith and are still believers. So stop with the "it's not their fault." The lies and gaslighting they did is their fault. And Without a Crystal Ball will continue to help AUB victims be heard and seen. Christine hemorrhaged severely following the miscarriage at home. Gwendolyn said Cody and Christine decided to bury the baby in the backyard. Cody apparently threw rocks on the makeshift grave and told Gwendolyn it's so the dogs don't eat the baby. So folks, that's who you are supporting with this show. This is a crime. Wow. As a nurse, I've been the primary caregiver in the hospital to many women after a fetal loss, either through stillbirth or medically necessary abortions. I can tell you it's one of the most harrowing experiences you can ever watch a woman go through. The pain of losing a child while your biological and chemical bodily responses are telling you it's time to breastfeed and rock your baby to sleep can literally lead a woman to almost like a state of psychosis in the worst of cases. At this point, many women feel that they're left desperately searching for a baby, that their body is telling them it's time to feed. And the point of saying all this is to say, I'm sure that Christine Brown went through. But for Katie Joy, it's just more content that she needs to blow out of proportion in order to gain as many clicks and views as humanly possible. And this is what Katie had to say to those who responded to her post. So some of her subscribers started asking questions about whether or not this was a crime and what the laws were. Her subscriber says, "I don't know about the laws where she's at, but in California, if there's a fetal demise, breath or not, the remains still need to be dealt with and not buried without a permit." And Without a Crystal Ball responds, "In Utah, it's the same. A baby that is a stillbirth must be reported to a medical examiner and issued a death certificate, and proper burial of the fetus is generally cremation through the medical examiner or hospital." And then a second subscriber steps in and said, "I've had a miscarriage in my first trimester, but the baby wasn't developed. I can't imagine actually giving birth to a baby, then taking it to the backyard to bury it. This may sound horrible, but if you deliver at home, you're not going to take the remains to the cemetery. Don't throw tomatoes, but what was she supposed to do with the remains? I was a teenager when I had my miscarriage, so I can see this happening, unfortunately." And Without a Crystal Ball responds, "You take the fetus to the medical examiner, which is required by law." And then lastly, a subscriber says, "My Lord, she could get her family in deep trouble," talking about what Gwen said. And Without a Crystal Ball responds, "Guess what? Women are also culpable. It's not just about Cody." Katie Joy claims to be a feminist and an advocate for victims. What I'm seeing in all of these posts is clearly a subtle plant by Katie Joy, trying to get her subscribers upset enough to reach out to authorities and whoever else in an attempt to punish Christine. Because of course, remember, Katie was friendly with Christine, even received a message from her. But when Christine went ahead and blocked Katie, her entire feelings towards Christine Brown completely changed. In the past, Without a Crystal Ball has called Christine a victim. And in this situation, I believe Christine clearly took action in which she thought she was doing the best she could for her baby, who she didn't see as a fetus. To me, Without a Crystal Ball sounds like her whole goal is to have this miscarriage investigated and to get members of the Brown family charged with whatever possible legalities can be mustered up. Some of Katie Joy's subscribers started to speak up and speak against her making these posts about Christine, and this was her response. "Not crossing lines and not doing anything other than literally covering this story. I am sick to death of the Sister Wives apologists excusing every damn thing this family does. Wake up. This was a late-term loss. This baby was not a first trimester loss. Janelle and Christine have both spoken about the fact of how late this baby was and the trauma surrounding the birth. I will not be shamed for my reporting. If you support abuse of women and children, unfollow. If you support abuse of a corpse, leave. I also won't change my reporting because of your brainwashing by this family. Telling me to stop reporting on something won't change, so stop or unfollow. If you support criminals, then leave. This is a crime." Here's what I have to say. While following the laws of your state is always important, we all know this, we're not stupid, a basic understanding of common sense and human compassion is actually just as important. We've watched the Sister Wives raise their kids for 10 years on TLC. Their parenting has been far from perfect, but to be honest, it's often seemingly better than my own, and certainly better than what I experienced myself growing up. These are women who, for all their imperfections, truly love and want their children. It's such a shame that Gwen wasn't able to foresee how she would open her mother up to so much criticism with these statements. But of course, Katie Joy was waiting in the wings to jump on this. I always lose subscribers and views when I speak out about Katie Joy, and I rarely do it.
I suffer from a disorder where I tell the truth and it pisses people off.
But I want you to know that I'm just fine with losing those subscribers. It even makes me feel good to know that I'm thinning out the people who've watched me in the past and they just can't handle any criticism of what Katie Joy is doing. I don't want to surround myself with those people. I also get a lot of comments like, aren't you doing the same thing? And I used to think that this was absolutely true, and it wasn't my place to say anything about Without a Crystal Ball. But over time, I've realized the truth. No other YouTuber, myself included, can come close to comparing with the greed and manipulation demonstrated by Katie Joy. I've watched her turn on her sources, friends, and subscribers. I've watched her publicize private citizens' personal information, even going as far as to publicly show another YouTuber's husband's criminal record. A man who never appeared on camera and likely had no idea who Without a Crystal Ball even was. But she made sure that she put that YouTuber's life in danger by sharing all the details of what had gone down in her husband's past. If you're not aware, Without a Crystal Ball makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from her videos alone. I used to be so happy for her about this. She built a channel from the ground up and she was supporting her family. Her husband even gets to stay home with their child. That is amazing. Until I realized that it was never going to be enough for her. Even though her family is so well taken care of now, she will not stop pushing, climbing, and manipulating everyone around her in an effort to break the next big story. God, please save me from myself if I ever become like that. So the point of this video, it's really not to convince you to stop watching Without a Crystal Ball or anything like that. The point is to stand up and say, Katie Joy Paulson, I see you. I see what you're up to. There's a lot of people like me watching you who aren't fooled by the constant lies you tell after you delete the evidence of what you've said or done. What you're trying to do to Christine Brown is disgusting. And whether or not it brings you all the money you're seeking, I know for sure the consequences for what happens will ultimately fall on your shoulders. Just like when you got kicked off the Duggar documentary. So join me for my next video tomorrow, where I will share Katie Joy's own words about being kicked off the upcoming documentary about the IBLP and the Duggar family. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I hope that you'll join me again down the next rabbit hole.
I don't like people.
I know, special needs proms are so gross.
You know what I really look forward to? When I get old, I want to be the old grandma that like sexually harasses the young boys that walk by. I don't even care.
Can I side hug your daughter? Can I side hug her and dry hump her leg? Please?
I go to Thailand, I want to find someone to give me a happy end.
Kids with disabilities make people a lot of money.
Guys, we're sitting in the hospital. It's 5:30.
YouTube, it's become infested with drama. It has drama channels like Rich Lux, Nick Snyder, Ashley Kyle,
Katie from Without a Crystal Ball,
T-Spill, anyone that is a perceived threat to
Katie from Without a Crystal Ball
is a target. It's gross. Do the math. Wow.
You can't control what happens on the internet, and the internet is forever.
Thank you for joining.